Good morning, good life. Welcome back to AmyTV, where we come together to help you go after the life you want. You know, I just recently published a podcast over on Detail Therapy called How to Start Taking Your Finances More Seriously. It was so popular. I got a lot of follow-up questions from that. And I am working on this video with my friends at QuickBooks. They are sponsoring today because I thought we could all come together, do a little bit more of a deep dive when it comes to business financials and how you make sure that you're not just blowing through all of your revenue and making sure you know what your cash flow is so you can cover all of your expenses, plan for your profit, and of course, make sure you get paid. So I'm gonna be breaking it down a little bit in this video, how I plan for all of my business expenses, what accounts I use, and also how I use that same model in my own personal life so that I make sure I'm managing my own paycheck as well. Okay, so we're gonna pop over to my desk where I sit and I manage my money so that we can really get into it. One of the most challenging things about starting business and bringing in your first revenue was realizing that not all of that revenue was just something you could use for whatever. You knew you had to save a little money for taxes and that maybe you needed to look at profit margin, but a lot of times when you're just starting out, you hope to get paid so you can pay your bills and you gotta balance some expenses. So this can easily lead to, just like you might in a normal job, working paycheck to paycheck in your business. We don't want that to happen because we start a business, we take this risk in order to be able to benefit from some of the financial freedom that it can bring us. Having different accounts so that you're really looking at the actual numbers, not just spreadsheets for projections and what you think you brought in, but the actual real numbers, the revenue, moving all of the things that you have to cover into separate accounts so that you know that money is absolutely there. So for instance, if you absolutely want to make sure you are profiting 5% of your revenue, then moving 5% of everything you brought in to that account. The same thing going for saving a certain amount of percentage for your taxes and working with your accountant on what that number is. You should always set aside X amount, and no matter what, you do that. Then from there, deciding, what your owner's compensation is, what your expense allowance is, and staying within those means. When you do this, you have a much better idea of what financial situation you're actually in, not what the hyperbolous numbers could be. And if you're not actually profiting, how can you get there? But always making sure that you're saving your tax money first, because that money is not yours. That's got to get paid out. Even if it's not right this second, it will need to. If you've been in business for a while, you're probably familiar with the fact that we have so many different types of expenses. So maybe even having just one account for those items is not going to be enough for you. You know you need to save up for something in particular, like a camera or for hiring somebody to do something. Well, QuickBooks Cash, if you use their bank account, they actually have a feature for this called envelopes, and you can create different envelopes for different things that you are saving for. So not only do you move that percentage into that account to allocate operating expenses in general, but now you can say part of that is going to go toward something in particular. I love this because, again, you see how much money you have for something. Can you spend it or can you not? It's not theoretical. It's plain black and white math. Even if you think you're not bringing in enough money to start making sure that you have these different accounts ready so that you can designate these percentages rigidly every single time you get paid, you're wrong. Have this infrastructure in place right away, no matter how little money you feel like you're bringing in. So not only do I have those predetermined percentages, profit, tax withholding, owner's compensation, operating expenses, I took it a step further and did the same thing in breaking out my personal payments. So when I get that owner's compensation, when I cut my own paycheck, I also have predetermined percentages for myself, for my short-term savings, my long-term savings, my investing, my food budget for the month, and my housing expenses. I've got those percentages pulling as well so that if there's anything left over, I know that's expendable income. I can go buy something cute. Knowing these percentages, outlining this for yourself, even if you can't perfectly get to your goal percentages, but you have sort of what it is now and what we're trying to get to, is much better than just continuing to say like, oh, I have this emergency expense, or I have this emergency thing that we have to take care of, or we have to pay that off. You've got to start balancing your books more carefully early on so that you actually know what you can spend on or where you're able to have an emergency. Sometimes we think we have an emergency that we don't. don't. Know the percentages, outline them, know where you're trying to get to as a goal, and start to follow it so that you will really know, like, no, we can't take on that additional expense if that's not possible. Once you have an idea of what those percentages are, to me, it is really important that they have separate accounts. It's just so much easier. You know it is. You look at your bank account and you go, that's how much money I have. Think about the fact that that's kind of a stressful feeling most of the time. But what if you looked at an account and you were like, here's my card. I know I have X number of dollars in that account, and you know exactly what those dollars are for. That is why you want to have different accounts for different things, because if you're saying like, okay, we have this many expenses this month and we're thinking we want to invest in this thing for our business or for this strategy, you can look at that account and go, do we have it? Rather than looking at how much room there might be on a credit card or how much we might be taking from profit to be able to do that. In my businesses, we are QuickBooks users. We love their system, and they also have QuickBooks Cash bank accounts, which are great for this. This is where we keep that money that we need to use for expenses. We've got a debit card for it. There's a designated place and system for it automatically. So it's a lot easier for us to think about, do we have it? Can we spend it? Do we actually want to spend the money that's going to come out of that account? And really take that decision seriously. The QuickBooks Cash bank account is an excellent option for small businesses, as it has no minimum balance, no waiting for incoming funds to clear, and it earns a high yield interest on cash kept in the account. So think about that. The money that you're saving, the money that you have in there is actually making you money. That is some savvy business stuff right there. Within the QuickBooks suite of products, all money movements are automatically accounted for, and card applications are done online in just a few minutes. So if you think it's going to be this extravagant thing to set up these accounts for yourself or set up a designated account for your expenses so that you can have your debit card, it can start earning you money so that you can also spend your money wisely. It's very quick and easy. So saying, oh, that's going to take time, I'm going to have to go through all, it's really not. Technology is up to speed with what we need to do to properly manage our finances. So don't let that hold you back. As I mentioned, you do get a physical premium debit card for your QuickBooks Cash account specifically. You can use it to shop online or take out cash at an ATM, just like any debit card that you would use, which is great if you are using it specifically for your business expenses. When you start a QuickBooks Cash account, the cash that sits there is going to earn you 1%, which is very competitive right now. So make sure you've got your legit financials set up, have your accounts for your different compartments, your different things that you do within your business with your cash flow, and you will be so much better right away at managing your money. It doesn't have anything to do with making more. It has to do with managing what you have as well as possible. The really amazing thing about the digital economy is how easy it is to pay for stuff, right? It's great when we can simply and easily pay a bill online or simply and easily start that recurring service, and then suddenly you have quite a few that you're dealing with and you almost even lose track. It's really important when you get better at managing your cash flow, when you're looking at the dollars, you really do keep track and you see those recurring expenses that might start to become unnecessary. They were just really easy to opt into, or expenses you're just not making the most of in general, whether they are recurring or not, and cutting them out and finding ways to live without them. This is going to have a lot to do with you making sure you manage your time wisely. Maybe you need to pay for the things that you don't want to spend time on. But there might also be things that are just unnecessary in general and just need to be cut out. It's harder to be aware of what needs to be cut when you're not really clear on how well you're budgeting. By following all of the steps in this video, you're going to have a better idea of what a bird's eye view looks like so that you can be more specific with yourself when you say, okay, well, that expense really isn't worth it, because when I look at that small percentage of our revenue that comes in that's supposed to be for expenses, is that really going to be worth it? Expenses catch up to you really fast. I'm sure no one's a stranger to that. So make sure you are paying attention and cutting out what doesn't need to be there. I will never forget the day I went and met my accountant for lunch to just go over my taxes again. And it was like the second or third year that I was in business. And I brought him my folder and I had like spreadsheets and receipts and all these things. And I had like a rough idea of the balances. And he just looked at me and he was like, don't you work on the internet? I was like, I do. He's like, you've got to have a better system than this. And this is how I ended up on QuickBooks. It was so important that I start to do things more automatically, because if I spend too much time tracking everything, my expenses, my revenue, in a very manual way, I'm gonna have to hire an accountant real quick, first of all. And also, that's not always possible when you're a small business and unnecessary when we have the tools that we have. Financial tracking is absolutely vital. You really can't do all of this stuff that I've been talking about, setting aside the percentages, if you're not sure in general of how much money you're bringing in and what is the expense balance to that, and how much are you paying yourself and how much are you profiting. There are systems that will help you with this, even if you feel like you're a complete math idiot. QuickBooks is a great option. We've used them since the beginning in my businesses, and no matter what else you do, if you just have one place where all of the invoices and all of the expenses are corroborated together, you're gonna be in much better shape. You've gotta be financial tracking in your business. It does not matter how little money you are bringing in. Take it seriously and have a system. Within the same idea of tracking your financials in general, you've got to track your goals. We always set goals at the beginning of a year, and we not only check on them at the end of the year, we check on them quarterly. I check on them personally weekly because I want to know how far off we are or how close we are or how ahead we are at any given time. Not just for, oh, I want to do this many podcasts this year, or I want to hit this many people with my email list. I want to know how many dollars have been brought in as well, because that's going to help me understand all the other stuff that we're able to do, how much more impact we can have, because it means I have to bring in the manpower that will help me do that. And you've got to grow your revenue in order to be able to scale. If you don't keep track of your goals, the money in, money out is always going to be very arbitrary to you. It's not really helping you reach a certain anything that you're hoping for. So really having those goals and checking in with them is extremely important. Like I said, I'm checking impact goals with how our videos do and how our podcasts do. And I'm checking on goals of things I want to create or things I want to achieve, like the planner we released this year. Did we hit that goal? And then how many did we sell? But I have to check revenue goals as well, because my payroll costs a certain amount. I want to make a certain amount, and we've got other expenses we've got to balance. I've got to keep track of that goal, take what our annual is going to be and divide it by 4 to see if after quarter 1, did we do it? And did we do everything else we wanted to do at a quarter of the level we needed to by that point? Breaking it down into stages makes it a lot easier for you to potentially see the vision come to light. This took a long time for me to learn. As a matter of fact, I just said to somebody today who said, hey, I want to pick your brain. Can I jump on a call with you? Sure, that's going to cost you money. It's not about the actual money that I'm going to make from that call. It's that I have these goals and I'm tracking all of my expenses and I'm tracking how my payroll is going and I'm tracking and I know what I have to do in order to be able to deliver as the owner of this business. And therefore, every time I say yes to someone who is keeping me from that goal or from all of that, I am saying no to that. And that is my vision. That's the entire reason that I started doing this. This is the entire reason that I took the risk of starting my own business. So remember that you've got to stand firm, because it's not just about what the bottom line is. It's about your vision actually potentially happening. When you say yes to some things, you say no to other things. Making sure you're saying yes to the right things is important. Even at the beginning when you feel like, oh, no one's gonna pay me yet because I don't have any experience, or I'm still just working on it. Get past that. Do what you have to do to earn your keep. Get return for something even if you can't get paid for it right away. When you get paid, track it, manage it properly, because you want that to grow. Thanks again to QuickBooks for working with us on this video. I know that this is a hot topic for so many because we're all trying to manage our money better, and they're gonna help you do that in their business. Find out more about the QuickBooks Cash bank account in the description below with my special link. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up, and of course, subscribe so you don't miss another one. I really like to talk about things that can be difficult to discuss, like money and feelings and productivity. So don't miss another episode. That's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. Remember, subscribe for good vibes, kiss the ones you love, and go after the life you want. Cheers. the camera. Dang it! I appreciate it as always. What are my hand movements again? I don't remember. Subscribe to GATLUW. I was thinking about the kiss blowing. Becca, did you see that? I hope I'm in focus. Yay. Khaleesi's making sound. Waiting for Khaleesi's footprints to go away. Khaleesi, can you please stop walking around with your little tippy tap? She's real annoyed because Daddy left. I am not annoyed that Daddy left because it means I can film in a quieter environment. Isn't that right? Your daddy's loud. Really? I'm filming. We can't cuddle. I can't move. I'm hopefully in focus. The dog walking is so distracting. Predetermined. That's legit. That's legit. Oh my God, I wasn't recording the whole time. Just kidding. I think we should do that again.